of MOPC. MOPC is only 4 years older than me. Thank you. If he so desires, our President might want to tackle recent developments in issues, declare or reaffirm policies, indicate future trust, and rally his audience behind his presidency in his quest for a better life for most Filipinos, and his ultimate bottom line, that not one more Filipino will be hungry by the end of his term in 2028. We have had 17 presidents and never heard a president promise the impossible. Tonight, MOPC audience is the largest ever to be gathered locally to hear the chief executive of the land since his inaugural speech on June 30, 2022, and his State of the Nation address on July 26, 2022. Many of the tycoons, Mr. President, tonight are partners or will be partners in your modernization program. Infra is the cornerstone of that program. Over the next 5 years, PBBM has allotted 10.78 trillion to build. BBM, build better, more. The largest ever infra spending in the history of this country. The MOPC President's Night is being staged amid the most challenging times ever for any sitting executive. There is turmoil everywhere, inside decision-making boardrooms, in currency markets, in stock markets, and on a number of strategic battlefronts. To be sure, our President came to the presidency with the longest front seat experience. The young Marcos, then known as Bongbong or Bonget, had turned 8 when his father and namesake, Ferdinand R Marcos, began his 20-year presidency on December 30, 1965. PBBM, as a young man, met more popes, more royalty, and more world leaders than any young Filipino. BBM is one president, I believe, who is too nice, too decent, and too right-minded as to dominate the vicious rough and tumble of Philippine politics. President BBM is the country's most popular president, probably with his visionary hands-on leadership, a cabinet vast in expertise and experience, and the right execution. He will be a great president. Our president will do wonders as a leader, despite unprecedented challenges of worldwide food and energy shortages, global inflation spiral, war in Ukraine, and fears of war in other places. BBM generated 31.629 million votes in the last May elections, 2 to 6 times the votes of the previous winners for president, and more than twice the votes of his nearest rival. Marcos Jr. took 59% of the 53.8 million votes cast for president. Only Marcos Sr. had a larger share, 61%, when he won re-election in 1969. BBM won in 64 of the country's major 80 provinces, in 16 of 17 regions, in mainland Luzon, the largest island, in nearly all the 100 largest cities, including the 15 cities and 2 towns of Metro Manila, the national capital. BBM's victory unified North and South Philippines and consolidated his stranglehold on the central part of the archipelago. There is no precedent for such an awesome mandate in the last 124 years of this republic. Today, there are only 3 opposition members, excuse me, Speaker, in the 311-member House of Representatives, and only 3 in the 24-member Senate, 2 of whom are of doubtful progeny. The judiciary, of course, is usually friendly to the incumbent president. It is not surprising that the executive secretary is a former Chief Justice. One more page, Mr. President. 2 more paragraphs. There is very little President Marcos Jr. cannot do. He said, "The sun has also risen. You will not be disappointed." He assured the nation of 114 million Filipinos on his inaugural. And so, as he said, do not be afraid. Enjoy the evening and welcome everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. At this juncture, may we invite House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez to introduce our guest of honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, and friends of the MOPC and the PhilConsa, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you the most popular President of the Republic of the Philippines, Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
Thank you very much, House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Joining us, please be seated. Joining us this evening is our Department of Finance Secretary, Ben Diokno, the Manila Overseas Press Club Chairman, Tony Lopez. To just describe me, I was clarifying it when he sat down. Sabi, is it too nice? Too nice and too decent? You haven't spoken to some members of my staff recently. But I have to say, I've never been described in such glowing terms. Thank you very much. MOPC Vice President Mike Toledo, the other members of the Board of Governors, fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, and all our distinguished guests, good evening. A pleasant evening to all here tonight. It is a pleasure to join you for this event and to share with you some of the insights as well as my administration's upcoming initiatives for the country. Since the campaign, unity has been our battle cry since the beginning of the campaign, and now we are setting into our track and finding our pace for the 6-year marathon. Unity remains one of the primary driving forces in pursuing economic recovery. As I have stated many times to our friends and our partners who from other countries, and I say to them that it is important to forge and to strengthen partnerships that already exist and to forge new partnerships and alliances, because in the uncertain world that we are facing, these partnerships will stabilize our transformation into the post-pandemic new global economy. And it is an uncertain world. It is an uncertain world that we are facing. It is an uncertain future. And that makes those partnerships all the more important. And again, the concept of unity applies. Although it was during the campaign, you could say, a concept, an idea that we brought forward as a message to the people. It still remains as a guiding light to us, and saying that what we need to do is to strengthen the lives of each Filipino's capabilities. What we have to do is to strengthen the Philippine economy. What we have to do is to strengthen our position in the world. And we need everyone's help in that. At the very first, as soon as I assumed office, I asked for everyone's help. No one person can do this. No one government can do this. No one entity, not one corporation, not one business. However, if we understand what we consider to be important for our country and for our people, and we work in our different ways to achieve that aspiration, to make that dream come true, that unity will bring us to that level of success. And that is why it still remains our touchstone as we go through the nuts and bolts, I suppose, of the problems that we face. And there is a very famous saying that we campaign in poetry, but we govern in prose. And as we govern in prose, we keep close to our heart the idea of unity. This constant aspiration for harmony amongst our people is not mere idealism or romanticism. It is a recognition of the fact that no vision, no undertaking, whether big or small, could possibly be realized without a clear and shared understanding of our end, our ways to get there, and our purposes for getting there. The goal is simple. It is clear. We want every Filipino and every island in this archipelago to have an environment and the tools that will enable them to go beyond surviving each day. We want our people to dream, to develop their talents, to explore the beauty of the country and of the world, and most especially, lead meaningful lives and have in their heart a hope for the future. And given solidarity as a premise, this event is a great opportunity to lay down the economic and diplomatic directions that this administration will undertake to ensure that we are all on the same page. So I'm deeply honored by this invitation to take part in this long-standing gala and the platform that it provides to discuss our concerns for the future. I am grateful to the MOPC as well as all the personalities, correspondents, diplomats, and businessmen and women present here tonight. Thank you for this opportunity to lay down parts of the vision and initiatives for the country's development amidst the global pandemic. In previous engagements, I have expressed several of the key priorities of this government, and tonight I wish to reiterate them to you all. The administration's first crucial objective is to secure food sufficiency and post-pandemic growth. I'm proud to share that in the recent visits that we have undertaken abroad, I was able to promote agricultural cooperation and encourage trade investment in key sectors. Locally, the Department of Agriculture has continuously provided production inputs to farmers and fisherfolk, such as high-quality seeds and fertilizers. as well as post-harvest machinery and facilities, including trucks, dryers, mills, all that can potentially contribute to the productivity and profitability of our farm workers and to increase their livelihoods. And so for them to once again make a living out of the agricultural sector. The government is also focusing on its agenda of strengthening public-private partnerships and sustaining the robust infrastructure initiatives of my predecessor with our very own flagship, and I think it was described, Build Better More infrastructure agenda. We need efficient infrastructure systems to serve as the backbone of the economy. There are certainly difficulties and challenges in the global arena, but we remain resolute in our efforts to cushion the impact on the Filipino. So we enjoy not only government and industries, but also the public to help in sustaining the positive trajectory of our socio-economic growth. For all our vision and aspirations, I underscore the crucial role of the press in building an active citizen, one that contributes to the development of our society. The nation counts on media in improving access to information and increasing awareness on issues that affect our country and the world. Your proactive participation in keeping a well-informed citizenry forms part of our collective goal to empower Filipinos and establish a more robust Philippines. I could not share all our plans for the next 6 years, but I will stand here and I will say that you may rest assured that we continue to articulate our plans with the members of the media, of course, especially the Manila Overseas Press Club. As I share your club's conviction in the importance of upholding the universal right of free speech and press freedom, as well as giving and receiving accurate information, I'm committed to remain open with you, constantly communicating our progress as we move forward. I urge you to effectively communicate to the public the government's efforts and initiatives towards our country's development. This is the another partnership that we must continue to strengthen. It is the job of our media practitioners to not only analyze, to not only give their opinion, but to also inform and let our people know what the government is doing and how it will help their lives and how they can be part of that progress, that process of progress that we have started. Under my lead, we will support and protect the rights of the media as they efficiently perform their duty. Whatever difficulties we may encounter from this point on, the government will always be ready to lend an ear and to listen to your concerns and to answer all that you may want to know. We will not be your leader, but we will be your partner as we work together to see the full promise of the Filipino nation fulfilled in the days and in the years ahead. I thank you all once again for this opportunity and I enjoin you all to pray and hope for the success of our efforts. Maraming salamat sa inyo lahat. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas at magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Mr. President. May we request His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. to grant a photo opportunity with the MOPC Board of Governors and MOPC officials. For the first batch, please proceed on the left side of the stage. Officers and governors of MOPC.
Photo opportunities, please. Photo opportunity.
Please enter on the left side of the stage and exit to your right. For the second batch, officers of PLDT Smart Group and Media Quest, please be on standby. May we request batch 2 to please proceed on the left side of the stage. Thank you, batch 1. Now, batch 2, please proceed to the stage for our photo opportunity. For the third batch, please be on standby, Presidents of Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you, batch 2. Now, batch 3 is the Presidents of Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. For the batch 4, please be on standby, Phil Consa. Batch 3, please exit to your right. May we call in Batch 4, Phil Consa. For Batch 5, please be on standby. The Family and Business Asia editors. Please be on standby. Batch 5, the Family and Business Asia editors of Chairman Tony Lopez. Thank you, Batch 4. Please exit on your right. Next is Batch 5. The Family and Business Asia editors of Chairman Tony Lopez. Please be on standby, Batch 6, the Family and Executives of President Eric Canoy. A gentle reminder to please avoid selfies. Please avoid taking selfies, please. Next batch, Batch 6, the Family and Executives of President Eric Canoy. Thank you, Batch 5. You may exit to your right. Please be on standby. Batch 7, the Consular Group. Be on standby, Batch 7, Consular Group. Batch 6, please exit to your right. Next is Batch 7, the Consular Group. Up next, please be on standby, Batch 8, the officials of PAGCOR. Up next, Please be on standby, Batch 8, officials of PAG Corps. Thank you, Batch 7. Please exit to your right. Thank you. Next up, Batch 7, Batch 8, the officials of PAG Corps. Please be on standby, Batch 9, First Gen and EDC Group. Thank you, Batch 8. Please exit to your right. Batch 9, First Gen and EDC Group. Thank you, Batch 8. You may exit to your right. Up next, Batch 9, First Gen and EDC Group. Please be on standby, Batch 10. The staff of MOPC and BizNews Asia Philippines. Thank you, Batch 9. Please exit to your right. Up next, Batch 10. Staff of MOPC and BizNews Asia Philippines. Please be on standby, Batch 11. Thank you, Batch 10. Next up, Batch 11. Kindly refrain from taking selfies. Thank you. Thank you, Batch 10. Please exit to your right. Now this time, Batch 11. Please be on standby. Batch 12. PCCI officials and FFCCII. Thank you, Batch 11. Kindly exit to your right. Next up, Batch 12. The final batch for our photo opportunity. Thank you, Batch 12. Please exit to your right. For another photo op, we'd like to call NG's CP. For the last batch of our photo op, please be on stage, members of the NGCP. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. At this point, may we now call on MOPC Chairman Tony Lopez to moderate.
May I ask Kitata to ask the first question. Please identify yourself, go direct to the point, don't deliver a State of the Nation address. Please come forward, Kit, or give mic to Kit. By the way, allow me to greet my compadre, great friend for a long time, since years back of Marcelo, and before Marcelo, my tutor in college, the great Kit Tatad. Happy birthday, Kit.
Thank you
He
very
celebrated his 65th birthday yesterday.
83rd,
83rd.
Good
Mr.
evening.
President.
Good evening, Senator.
Thank you very much, Tony. Mr. President, in deference to the chairman of the MOPC, I tried to write down my question too. Mr. President, first of all, may I thank and congratulate MOPC through its chairman, Mr. Tony Lopez, for organizing this timely multi-sectoral forum. And may I say how honored and delighted we all are to listen to Your Excellency after your highly successful visits, first to Indonesia and Singapore, and then to the United States, where you addressed the 77th session of the UN General Assembly and met with US President Joe Biden, other foreign leaders, and numerous American business and investment groups. The UN General Debate was dominated by fierce denunciations of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and passionate calls for severe punishment of the offender. Your Excellency, however, made it abundantly clear that the Philippines will be a friend to all and an enemy to none, whether in this conflict or in any other. This is a universal aspiration rooted in the gospel, a stark reminder that war always destroys and peace alone delivers. My question, Mr. President, is this. Having defined the ideal, will you now want to operationalize your exalted foreign policy vision so that the world would have a working model to follow? And if that opens up a diplomatic corridor for sovereign nations to cooperate with greater zeal for the elimination of war and the threat of war, would you be disposed to lead such an undertaking? At an appropriate time, will you want to take it up with, say, your colleagues in ASEAN and in the non-aligned movement, of which we have been a member since 1993? One small related question, Mr. President. The UN Secretary General recently said that so far humanity has been
Kit, Kit, can you reduce your question to 5 words? What exactly are you asking? What is your exact question?
Yeah, I asked the first question. That would His Excellency want to operationalize his exalted foreign policy vision so that the world will have a model to follow? And if that opens up a diplomatic corridor for many nations to work together to
So you're asking the President if he wants to be the leader in peacemaking negotiations?
Yes.
Okay.
In regard to that, I believe that it is, especially for the regional concerns that we have, that it is not sufficient for one country or one leader or one head of state to lead the. There will be leaders, there will be followers, and we hope to be one. We hope to be the part of the leading, the ones that are leading the effort for peace. That we concentrate. In the past, in my discussions with the different leaders, we spoke very much, of course, of the situation here in Southeast Asia, in Asia, in regards to the intensifying non-violent conflict, but push and pull between China and the United States over Taiwan. And again, we were reminded 2 days ago of what we may have forgotten a little bit, that North Korea remains a threat to the peace in the region. And it's my belief that we must strengthen our organizations. And specifically in this case, I'm talking about ASEAN. And I think ASEAN can do more than it has done thus far. And in fact, in the upcoming ASEAN conferences that are coming up in November, I intend to propose several actions that ASEAN can take specific to the different conflicts that we are seeing in our region. And if the Philippines can play a part, then that would certainly be a good thing. We have the issue of Myanmar and the Rohingya situation, and we have as yet been unable to bring Myanmar to the table. And I think it's time to put forward some concrete proposals on what we can do to, at the very least, bring the at least representatives of the military government to the table so we can begin to talk about these things. I'm a great believer in engagement. And I think once the lines of communications have closed, then any hope of a compromise has ended. So let us continue with that. But again, we must present a united front, and that is something that I believe is the best way forward. Simply because the moral suasion, at the very least, of several member countries of ASEAN is probably, in many ways, more effective than just a single country. Although we don't dismiss bilateral contacts, bilateral negotiations, multilateral negotiations outside of ASEAN, within ASEAN. Again, I think we should continue to try and push our member neighbors to present that united front and to move that united front forward so that we can say that ASEAN, as a political, geopolitical aggregation, economic aggregation, has certainly shown that it has a function to do in the normal scheme of the geopolitics, but when crisis comes, that they come to the fore. And that, again, is something wherein I believe the Philippines can play a large part. But in fact, in my speech in the United Nations, I already proposed and I said that it would be we need to abandon the idea of nuclear weapons, of having a stockpile of nuclear weapons as a deterrence. And we should remove that kind of Cold War thinking already from our geopolitics and remove lower the stockpiles and make them, and finally at some point, to remove from the face of the earth any nuclear weapons. And unfortunately, 2-3 days later, we hear the announcement from Russia that they are contemplating using tactical nuclear weapons. This brings us back immediately
to the problem with North Korea, because North Korea is the only country in the region who has threatened the use of nuclear weapons. And if Russia uses tactical nuclear, hindi na bali yung strategic nuclear weapons, but if they use tactical nuclear weapons in the Ukraine, and it becomes acceptable that tactical nuclear weapons are a conventional weapon, then that might encourage other nuclear powers to think in that direction and to now actually use the unthinkable. They start using their nuclear stockpiles. So we have a very important part to play in that, because we have a great interest. We have it must be a subject of central concern in our foreign policy and in the defense of the nation in the Philippines. So I do not think we have a choice. We must play a leadership role, because it is in our interest. And if we do not do it, we are not doing our jobs as the protectors of our country, of our state, of our territory, of our people. If we do not take that leadership role, I think it has been thrust upon us. And it is in good Filipino, as a good Filipinos, we face up to challenges and we face up to responsibilities. So we will face up to this one as well.
Thank
By
you
the
very
way,
much, Mr. President.
by the way, Mr. President,
I think
when
that
they
is a
say
very strong
tactical
yes.
nuclear weapon, that's a bomb greater than Hiroshima or Nagasaki. And it's only tactical.
Thank you very much.
Next question from Ivan Mayrena. Thank you very much, my friend and compadre Kit.
Magandang gabi po, Ginoong Pangulo. Good evening to everyone. Ako po
Good
si
evening.
Ivan Mayrena of GMA7. Mr. President, you will mark your 100th day in office in 2 days. What would you consider your accomplishments? What are the things that you wish you could have done? And what will you do, if any? What will you do differently?
Well, I would say that I don't know if I would myself term them as accomplishments. It's very early on in a term, but nonetheless, I think what we have managed to do in the first 100 days is put together a government which is functional and which has a very, very good idea of what we are targeting in terms of strict economic targets, for example, in terms of the numbers of growth, the numbers of our different measures, the different metrics that we are using for the economy. But beyond that, I think that we still continue to enjoy that the unifying force that the elections became. Generally speaking, elections are polarizing. And of course, and even in this case, it was polarizing, but at least a very strong majority made itself felt. And I think that is something that we continue to use as our foundation. And with that, what the promises that were made during the campaign, for example, that we bring the best and the brightest and we do not look at color in terms of political color, I think we have done that. And more importantly, we have galvanized government once again into governing. And the one thing I worry about very, very much is coasting. Yung okay na ito, pwede na ito. We don't really need to attend to this anymore. It's going to be all right. You can all go and have a holiday. That's what I worry about the most. But I try very hard to put an impetus into government. Come on, let's go. We need to do these things. We haven't very much time. We have very few. We have very many difficulties. We cannot count on other countries to help us in ways that they used to be able to help us. So it is up to us. But I think all of those, at least in the higher positions in government, and even slowly, it's filtering down to the rank and file. are beginning to feel that no, there is a point to government. There is something that we need to be doing. And this is the direction we are being led in. These are the things that we are going to do. We are going to go from here to there. This is why we are doing it, and this is how we are going to get it done. And this is the part that you will have to play if we are going to succeed. That kind of message, I think, has filtered down to not only the elected officials, not only the high officials in government, but to slowly make the bureaucracy understand, make all our officials understand that we are here to as a government, we are here to govern. We have been put here to try our best to pull us out of this terrible crisis that we have just been suffering for the last 2 years. And I think we have achieved that. So it is that sense of urgency, that sense of again, it is that unity that we bring people together, and we are bringing people together for a reason. And the reason is not ourselves, it's not our families, but it's our community, it's our country, it's our people. That, I think, we have returned into government. I think that's the most important thing. On a more practical level, I believe that the engagements that we have had with ASEAN countries such as Indonesia and Singapore, and then eventually our contacts that we renewed. The nice thing is the Philippines has many friends around the world, and these contacts and friendships we have been able to renew. But I think since this is the coming out party for the world, it's not just the Philippines that's coming out of the pandemic. This is the coming out party for the Philippines, and we are able to explain this is what the Philippines is now. This is what the Philippines looks like after 2.5 years of crisis. This is what the Philippines is doing, and this is how we can help each other. Because not any one country is going to manage this transformation by themselves. And we will need each other's help. The interconnectivity of the global economy was brought home in a very convincing way by the war in Ukraine. Even in the UN, I would talk to the other leaders and I say, who would have thought that the war in Eastern Europe would affect the Philippines halfway around the world in the gut, in the food supply, fertilizer prices, seedling prices, fuel, all of these things. You never imagined that such a thing would happen, but here it is, and here we are. And so it was very, very important for us to find our place now in the world, and to define that place and to explain that to the rest of the world, especially our friends, but also those who have not been considered as particularly close partners or allies. But we have been able to show that the Philippines is standing on its feet. The Philippines continues to have its aspirations and its dreams, and we are willing to do our part in making those dreams come true. And the partnerships, once again, are going to be important, and we invite you to join us. So that is one thing we have staked our place in the community of nations. I think that has been very, very important. The other, I suppose, we have started the struggle. We were able, I suppose, in the first 100 days, actually the first 60 days, maybe 50 days, we were putting out fires. We were just trying to make things work, because suddenly the problem, you're all aware, the problem with sugar, the supply, the problem with fertilizer. We were having to look to different what we now refer to as non-traditional sources. Senator Kit just brought up also this foreign policy between Ukraine and Russia, and we take a very balanced view. because the truth of the matter is we may have to deal with, with Russia for fuel, for fertilizer, we have to find a way to deal with the Ukraine for our feed wheat, our corn importation, all of these things, our livestock importation, all of these things have now become part of the mix that has made the world situation more volatile and more complex than it was before. But we have, we have already made it clear where the Philippines stands in all of this. And it is something that I made clear again to the other leaders, and I said that we are essentially, we are driven by our desire for peace. And all the economic development that we plan and all that we hope to do will come to naught unless there is peace. And so that, I think, that message, and we have played our part in that, that touches upon the question of Senator Kit Tatad about the leadership role that we need to be playing. So again, I think I remember the first time I heard this question, what was before, was during the campaign, what will you do in your first 100 days? And I said, well, the first 100 days will be finding the best and the brightest to help and to serve in government. I think that we have managed to do that. I think that we have, I am always very grateful to those such as Secretary Ben Jokno, for those in our economic managers, those who are experts who have have decided to join the government, because we know that they are very successful, and this is a sacrifice for them. It is really all about service on their part, and so we are always very grateful for their talent. We are grateful for their industry, and to have them in place already, I think, gives us a very distinct advantage as we try to transform our economy for the next few years.
Mr. President, ang haba na ng istorya ni Ivan. Anyway, Ivan, if I were to write the story, and allow me to suggest it, just remember two things: unity and engagement. This is the first president to personify the meaning of unity. Unity means nationhood. Engagement is like in an automobile. There is a transmission, there's an engine, there's a driver. You engage and you move. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tony.
It's time for something equally substantial, dinner. But before that, let's have a closing remarks from my president, Eric Canoy.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gusto mo pa isang question pa?
Yeah.
Invite niyo, Mr. President.
Mr. President, thank you for joining us this evening. We're very grateful for the candor and explanation you've given to us tonight. At least it's the first time we've gone and invited you, and we hope to continue being with you, together, working together in unity for our country. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, for gracing the event today. That concludes our program. Once again, Once again, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.